Everyone knows that building picture cars is a glorious, glamorous profession where you're surrounded by adoring, beautiful actors, and then there's this car. What we have here is a 1978 Plymouth Volare. We're putting together for a film being shot in Capitan or maybe Carasoso shortly. And perhaps the ugliest car that I've ever had in my shop. This vehicle is typical of New Mexico older vehicles. There's not a lot of rust. It's a pretty dry climate, but there's lots of sun damage. And now we're going to take a look at the back seat. Now, this back seat is really pretty ugly, and per my instructions I should just leave it that way. However, I'm related to a camera guy, so I'm going to cover this with foam and a saddle blanket so it'll be nice and comfy on those long drives when they have to shoot video from the back seat. And here is the after. Still very ugly, however highly functional, because let's face it, a cameraman may have to sit back here, or more importantly, a sound guy. The front seat on this vehicle also in really terrible condition. However, using a trick that I learned in Marrakesh, Morocco, we were able to age this seat cover somewhat and make it look a little bit more appropriate. The dash, however, this vehicle comes with a 225 cubic inch slant 6 motor, produces 95 horsepower on its best day. Things you should check for: are there any leaks in the gas tank? Any leaks in the differential? The exhaust system looks pretty good, welded up, no holes, it's not rusted through. Catalytic converter, everything looks pretty good. On these older vehicles, it's always important to change the engine oil and oil filter. Another critical maintenance item is to change the transmission fluid. The trick is to loosen one side while the other side still has a couple bolts in it. Kind of let this come down at an angle, and hopefully all the fluid will go into the catch pan and not onto the floor. So when the pan comes off, you'll see the filter, which we're going to replace, and the gasket. Leave your pan underneath this for a few minutes because it's going to continue to drip all over your floor. It's a really good idea to clean out the inside of the pan. So I usually use a speed wrench to tighten these up. And remember, don't overdo it. While you're in here, look at the inside of the tires. Make sure they're not all dry rotted and stuff. You'll want to check the differential oil as well. Make sure there's plenty in there. From the chart below, that at ambient temperature 85 degrees, we would like to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 to 55 psi on the low side and 225 to 250 psi on the high side. You'll notice before you turn on the air conditioner, both of the gauges for the low side and the high side will read the same. Just in case you don't know, this is the high pressure side. You can tell it's high pressure because usually when the air conditioner is running, it's hot. And this is the low pressure side. And you can tell the low pressure side because it's usually marked with an S for suction on the pump. And when the air conditioner is running, it's cold. I have the motor running and warming up, and I'm going to turn on the air conditioner right now. With the air conditioner running, you'll notice that the clutch engages on the air conditioning compressor pump, and it runs. Now, if the clutch does not engage, it could be the clutch is bad or that there's not enough pressure in the system to allow it to engage. Looking at our gauges, we can see that the low pressure side is around 10 and the high pressure side appears to be reading about 125. So quite a bit lower than what we need for the system to be operational. This is a turn signal switch. Now, you'd like to have the turn signals operate, so let's take a look at it. So we turn on the ignition, and when you press down on this, as you see by the indicator, and if we went outside you can see the lights, the turn signal's working. And then you come up in the other direction, yes, and the turn signal's working there also. Now this is the switch that was originally in the car. As you can imagine, it didn't work very well. Okay, we just replaced the horn relay, which is located way back here. I'll show you a diagram. And it is connected through the steering wheel, which is this right here. It's kind of like a slip ring. And this little wheel that you can see right here connects that. And when you ground this, the horn blows. Isn't that just fantastic? This is the inside of the horn assembly. And the way this worked originally is this nice little copper piece went right on top of a foam insert, and then the copper piece, when you pushed on the horn, if you can see these little divots in the bottom of the copper piece, they would short out to this. So I'm going to try to rebuild this because, of course, all that's 40 years old, all the foam is long gone. So I'm going to use a little double stick tape here and see if we can make it work. When the meter is reading infinite, there's no connection, no horn blowing. When I press the button, oh look, it goes to 0. And now I have the entire horn assembly put back together. As you can see, there's this rubber plastic piece that goes over the outside. It's warm here in New Mexico today, well over 100 degrees, so it allowed me to put this back on. I'm not sure I would try this in a cold environment. So let's see if it works. We have infinite, press on the horn, looks like it's going to work, release it, and the horn is still blowing. I still have some work to do, but you get the idea. And now with the steering wheel reinstalled, we want to make sure and tighten this nut up really well because, you know, having a steering come off while you're driving, some people would consider that to be a problem. And let's test our horn once more by grounding this out, and yes, it works. Now we put the horn switch back on. And finally, we have everything installed, and if we did a good job, then that's right, the horn works. Isn't that great? After you get the brake pads out and get the brake caliper off, you remove this front cap, and you'll find this cover and this 1 1/16 bolt. You take out the Carter key, take off the cover, remove the 1 1/16 bolt and washer, and that'll allow you access to the front bearing. So then you remove the entire rotor assembly and take out the rear seal. The rear seal looks like this, and it's located right here. You pull the rear seal out. How? Well, with a seal puller. All right, now what we're going to do is clean our bearings. These bearings, we took them over to the parts washer, cleaned them out very nice, blew them dry. Be careful when you blow them dry. A lot of people like to hold these things in their hand and blow air across them and get them running really fast, and I think that's just as cool as can be. Not cool. They can lock up and really hurt your fingers. Anyway, take a look at them, inspect them closely, make sure there's no cracks, no missing bearings, no broken bearings, anything like that. If there are, replace them. They're not that expensive. It's not worth having your wheel lock up on you. And then what we're going to do is get some of this wonderful grease, put it in the palm of our hand, and force the grease through the bearing until it comes out of the top. Alright, once you have the bearings packed, you want to install the rear bearing, which is the larger of the two, and then you want to reinstall the seal. Now, this is the old seal, and this is the new seal, and you want to make sure they are exactly the same and that you don't put the wrong seal in. In this case, they are. Everything looks great. I also like to put a little grease on the inside of the sealing surface of the seal to make sure that it, you guessed it, seals up. So 2 days ago, the director in our department informed us that they wanted the car to be a different color. And so we have masked off the car. My buddy here, Gerard, is helping me with that process right now. We sanded everything, got it ready, and we will be painting this car what I believe will be an even uglier color in a few minutes.